the map kind of a hidden thing from me the entire Playday, so thank you very much. Let's actually reveal it and see exactly what we're going to be doing today. Oh my god.
So that's a genuine reaction because we both knew, but Milos always makes sure we don't tell
That's
him.
very true. I actually get very angry when people tell me what the map is before we start. So at this point, Des just kind of yells something and I turn off my microphone and my ears, and that's all that's necessary. So theme park. How cool is that? What a tough place for Chaos to pick Oregon over Oregon against G2.
Yeah, I mean, G2 beat BDS on Theme Park 7-2, I believe, back in the major, whereas Chaos haven't played this map at all, at least not in recent times.
Yeah, last time that Chaos actually played this map, it was, funnily enough, against BDS, but a very different BDS and a very different Chaos. This was way back in Pro League Season 11, way back in March. So it's almost ancient history, basically a result that we can't really look at. This has also been one of G2's most banned maps as well, which means there's not a lot of info out there. I'm pretty scared for Chaos, especially because, as you mentioned, that BDS game, G2 won 4 out of their 6 attacks on Theme Park, a really defender-sided map, and they went flawless on their defense. So this is a good map for G2, as far as we know about it.
And Dev, you said it best in the beginning. What do Chaos need to do to stay out of relegation? At least number 10 position. The only thing to do is to literally win every single game coming up next. They play against G2 today. They play against Empire next Playday. And then they go ahead against Vitality on our final Playday number 9. So yeah, tough. Can they do it? It all depends on them and on Tempera not winning anything. But our matchup is ready, so why don't we just toss it over to our casters? Justice You, please, all yours for final game of the night.
One of these days he'll say it. I swear to God, Jesse will say it. I'm waiting for the day. I don't want to prompt him. It's going to happen. But we should get prompted into this game. This is a huge game, as the guys who just sold it to you. If Chaos lose here, a team that has been present in the top flight of Siege since Pro League Season 7 will be gone. They will be eviscerated, demolished, cast into the annals of history, and they will be in Siege no more. Well, they'll still be in Siege, just not in Tier 1.
Whoa.
But it sounds far cooler when you say no longer in Siege.
Look, I'll let you have your theatrics there. I'm going to bring it a little bit more down to earth and say that Chaos has a chance. We're gonna throw it out there. Chaos has a chance here today against G2 to claw their way out of auto relegation. A lot of people don't understand auto relegation means there is no fighting chance to stay in EUL. No fighting chance to stay as a Tier 1 team. No fighting chance to say that Chaos is a professional team. They go down to technically what we consider the semi-professional Tier 2. And that forces them to have to grind their way back up. And guess what? Now that we have the new system, it's a whole year.
It's a bit too much to wait, I think, for some of the players, no doubt. And you have to look back at the last Playday. Playday number 6 on October 7th. They lost 7-4 to Tempera. Their arch rivals, their nemesis, down here at the bottom of the table. A win there would have been sure to give them a solid run at making it out, but I think after losing that game, no doubt the players are looking at today and they're probably feeling pretty forlorn about it. I'm hoping that behind the scenes they've managed to galvanize the players, get them excited and ready for this, because like I say, this is going to be hell of a rough game. At the very least, with the bans coming out, we're going to see them taking that Monty away from Pengu, no big surprise. G2 are also going to round things out with the Clash. Absolutely no surprise here, because on a map like this, when you're on attack as G2, that Monty gives you so much ground for free with pretty much guaranteed safety. The taking it away could slow G2 down when they get round to the attacks, but first, Chaos have got to get through 6 attacking rounds of their own. And I don't know about you, Jess, but I have very strong feelings towards attacking on Cafe first. Cafe, Theme Park first. Attacking through Cafe first, you could say.
You know, Des has not shut up, ladies and gentlemen, about how if you're a team who wants to start attack on Theme Park, then you are essentially giving a free win to the other team. I don't know what it is. It's almost like he can't identify that, you know, second halves in a game exist. But I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack here as we jump into round 1. Chaos on the back foot, if, you know, anything Des has said is anything to go off of. Starting on attack, they do have the Thatcher. That's a little bit of reprieve here for them. They have the Thatcher to play with. We're going into Armory first. This is super important. But a lot of teams these days have been impact tricky. 4 impacts on the side of G2. Thatcher won't help with that.
Remember the God impact nade that Pengu claims yeeting across the site as well from the doorway that's currently in the center of your screen, right across to the bottom wall into maintenance. It was an incredible shot, and it destroyed the hard breach that was on the other side of it. It was a wonderful shot, and we know that G2 know how to play around these, so I'm keeping a very close eye on that. The one thing I will go to is something you said a second ago, that Thatcher is on side, and looking across to the other side, you've got the Mute and the Mozzie, this big intel denial game. This again is the sort of thing that we saw Na'Vi absolutely bully Tempera with last season on Theme Park. So I like the G2 are taking a leaf out of their book there and saying denial the information, make every single push a big risk, and that's where we can pick up some easy rounds in this game.
All right, well, we'll see exactly how they deal with these walls, but it looks like G2 is opting for a little bit of a top floor roam. Whether or not they commit to that, it does look like that's how they want to play. I am worried a little bit for G2 because out of all the teams that have always been confident on Theme Park, it was Chaos who first pioneered a lot of the meta here on Theme Park. I remember going back on that game, doing a lot of VOD reviews myself and being really happy with the way that Chaos played it. They got a few new players. They have a few new strats. They're probably going to play this quite differently to how they used to. And G2, well, they're used to this map now. I mean, you look back to the major, 7-2 against BDS. They know what they're doing.
What I love is that looking back across Chaos, they barely banned Theme Park away. They banned it 3 times pretty much in the entire year when it came down to it. It's been banned against them 18 times. It has been rough. They have wanted to play this map, but no one ever lets them because everyone hates it. But Chaos, since that day they played it back in Pro League Season 11, have been revered as one of the best and one of the teams you need to worry about. However, starting things off, next one going to be the opening death for his team. An issue in a lineup that I think I've pointed out so many times this season, that next one was brought in from the Lowland Lions, now known as Gamma Gaming, formerly known as Diffuse Kids. Crying and next one together were an incredible duo in Challenger League Season 11. But since then, with them being a bit separated, they really aren't shining the same way here in EUL as they did back in Challenger League, and that is a massive problem for Chaos.
Another massive problem is that you can't be giving up drones like that, boys. You can't be letting the Mozzie eat them. Free intel, whatever have you. I think Vito was managing to spot Citizen on his drone and was trying to shoot him from above with his cassette. Good spot there, but no cigar. And now, as we surpass the halfway mark of this round, G2, they need a wall open. They need something here, and it looks like they're going to, rather Chaos needs something here to open a wall. And drug control, will it be in the hands of Cryin here, or will he falter as no one else pushes with him?
Well, that's the thing. They've still got 2 members of G2 hanging outside. And yes, you worry about the vertical control of points. They have managed to get that. We saw this in APAC just last week where a team cleared the top floor but ignored drug and got bitten in the backside for it later into the round. And they are very mindful this could be a thing. That's why G2 are holding it so aggressively, is that the more time they can waste here, and bear in mind there are only 40 seconds left, the less time Chaos have actually got to start looking at the site itself.
30 seconds left here, Des. I really don't see much reprieve here for Chaos. I don't even know if they've got the walls open, but Vito, we've seen him pop off on the IQ before. We just need Cryin to stall out these players in drugs so they can get a plant down.
At least by him being there, potentially watching the backside, yes, there's 2 players that could be held in, but here they go with the push in. 1 spray down comes from Uno, a second straight onto the door from Pengu. That's 2 members done and dusted, and 1 up to the north also gets put down. Cryin is left all by himself inside a drug, and Kanto, as that clock approaches 0, decides to strike big. G2 with a very decisive first round, and Chaos, for all that we revere them on this map, unable to do anything it feels like in round number 1.
Yeah, not a surprise there. We do think it is a little bit defender-sided on Theme Park at the very least. I don't think G2's even lost any of their defending times here on Theme Park. No, they haven't. So last time, and mind you, it's only 3 rounds in a row that they won against BDS on defense before they capped it off with the 7-2. They started on attack and they won a heck of a lot of their attacking rounds. And then, of course, 3 defensive rounds in a row. And boop, there is their only time they've played Theme Park since June. That's on my records. And it's been a pretty decisive win. So far, since June, G2 is undefeated on defense here on Theme Park. And I mean, I know what you like, Des. I know you just are going to make the assumption that G2 will win all of their defensive rounds and put Chaos in a really sticky situation. Next site is Lab. Interesting switch. A lot of people like to go upstairs. G2 says, you know, we'll keep our foots. Wow, I wish, I spoke English as a native language.
Me too.
Oh no, but feet firmly on the ground here on bottom floor.
Got that one pretty quick. There's no more slip-ups or mistakes coming out towards the bitter end, but you are correct. We do head into drug lab and storage. Now, they aren't the only team to have done this. Again, I'll refer back to APAC. We have that blessing that we cover 2 regions, is that we get to see quite a lot of diversity in play. And across in APAC and even in LATAM, some teams have been going here as one of their primary sites. I'm still not entirely sure why, but teams are really taking a liking to defending over here. And this is something that we start seeing on maps like Cafe now, where fireplace and mining is becoming very, very popular. We saw BDS actually take it as their go-to site over reading and fireplace earlier on. Just goes to show that teams do like to innovate a little bit. And I think after everyone had kind of written theme park off and went, nope, it's too hard to defend, sorry, to attack, we're done with this now, it's going out, we're never going to play it. Now teams are thinking, well, we can surprise some teams there. And while we do so, let's bring in a site that no one really seems to play, and this is that site.
You're speaking about surprise. I'm actually surprised to see Citizen on the smoke. I would generally see Pengu on the shotgun SMG combo, but he's not even going to have the shotgun here. He's going to have his primary. And that's kind of funky. I love that. And it looks like Cafe will be the first plan of attack here for Chaos. And they're probably going to get that pretty handily. They've thrown a lot of utility towards that EMP flashes. Surely they're going to get that shield as well. I think it's already gone.
The bullet hole. Oh, naughty. You saw his outline dancing back and forth, and I was just like, surely there's a bullet hole. Surely he knows what he's going for, and Citizen strikes big. I kind of laughed when you pointed out he was on the smoke, because that's him. That's Joystick now starting to play on the smoke. Is this the rise of the fraggers starting to play smoke? Heaven knows. We'll see when it comes around to the major if that trend continues. Crying does find him out eventually after the opening kill. Gotta point it out, as I always do, number of drones left for Chaos here. They have 2 drones left alive and 100 seconds in this round to play. Now they have 1 drone left alive. However, there was a man behind that one that Kanto clearly didn't respect, and Crying finds the double kill. So 1 drone, 1 man advantage, 1 minute and 30 left to play, now brought down into a 3 versus 3. They need a lot more than what they're getting right now, and like that, 2 of those members have disappeared, as has the advantage. There's no intel. This is all down to that old Diffuse Kids duo of Next One and Crying, ready to try and do something big.
Yeah, I love that you said he didn't respect the drone. I absolutely felt that. Always make the assumption someone is behind it, and he didn't. He turned his back and he paid the price. And now 60-second mark, but it looks like this round might finish a little bit early, as this day has sort of gone on for us here on this play day. If you're not aware, go back on the standings for today. A lot has gone on. We're speaking about drama. Well, this game is absolutely full of it here, as Chaos, they lose this game and they are auto-relegated, as we said during our intro. So everything to play for here for Chaos. And for G2, they want that major spot in hand.
Again, we're coming into that 40-second mark, and for Chaos, I'm like, well, timing, guys. We know this has been an issue for you in the last, well, in the first round. We saw it came down to 40 seconds. You had Crying pinned inside a lab, and 2 or 3 decided to storm their way in through Dragon Door and make something happen. Spoilers, it didn't work out very well for them. Got to pick up the pace, and the thing is, Crying is nowhere near the site right now. They do have the diffuser in hand on Next One, but they've got to find out where these last couple of members of G2 are. That's a great shot coming out of him onto Virtue, and a triple kill for him in this round. Ace or bust. Crying is the way to call this one. We're down to the final 10 seconds. It's rushing, it's do or die. Uno's going to collect 1. Can he collect it next? Yes, he can. The new Ash and Jaeger player for G2. Well, not really a new player, but at least the newly appointed Ash and Jaeger player steps up big and gives G2 round number 2.
Feels like all of the hope here for Chaos is just slowly slipping away from them. I don't want to say too much yet, because we've seen things flip on the second half. Just insane. G2's one of the teams that's been able to make that happen. The reverse sweep, the comeback. G2's known for it. So it's not unbeknownst that a team is able to, I guess, achieve a reverse sweep. But Chaos, I mean, they've been sitting pretty, dare I say, comfortably at the bottom of the leaderboard for quite a bit here at both stages. And I mean, if you expect a team to be able to do it, I don't really think it's Chaos. I think the roster changes have been awesome. I will say that as a fact. I think the roster changes have been great for Chaos. But the trouble is that you're throwing a lifeline to someone who's already 20 meters under the water. I mean, at that point, you got to hope they can hold their breath for long enough, viciously pull themselves above water. And I don't think Chaos could do that here against a G2 who is slowly coming back to form.
Pretty fair to say they've been drowning down there for a long time, Jess. It's almost like they skimped out on the swimming lessons last season when they were sorely required. They skimped out last week in that game against Tempera when, again, they were the 3 points they really sorely needed to not come into a do-or-die situation today. But here we find ourselves. The real beautiful irony for me would be if Gamma Gaming go on to win Challenger League, find themselves promoted into EUL, and Chaos go down with 2 of their old members in there. It would be crazy.
Oh, there is too much craziness happening here today. And I think for G2, they're feeling pretty confident thus far. I don't think any of these rounds have really been, I guess, a massive what's the word I'm looking for here? I would say
Domination?
yeah, no domination here from either teams, let's be frank. I think G2 have just looked more confident than Chaos have. Chaos have stalled out multiple times. In the early round, they look like they know how they want to get rid of utility. It's just not really flown into anything that's been more confident mid and late round. I want to see this work as well, but I don't know if anyone's going to rappel up and pop the hatch. Yes, they are. That's a freebie. Good night, Vito. And Citizen says, I know exactly how to play that one. And that's what happens when you place a breaching charge. You don't have the sledge, you place a breaching charge, it takes, what, 2 seconds, and boom, good night.
Secretly the hero of a couple of play days ago, if you remember, he went 13-3 in one of their games and literally dragged his teams kicking and screaming over the finish line to give them one of the 2 wins they found in this season. And remember when they found those wins, we were saying, look, they've come all the way up to this point. 13 games, I believe, without a win. They had draws, they had losses, but never a win. Then they found 2 back-to-back. That's when we started to believe. And they need a bit of belief inside the team if they're going to be able to drag this one back, and at least bringing it to a 4 versus 4 is the start in this round towards that. 1 or 2 rounds on the attack can be enough to make sure you go into that second half not sweating at the prospect of a rush coming out of G2 or some kind of craziness. So here I do want to see Chaos get something to give themselves the opportunity in the second half to flourish.
Speaking of opportunities, that shield does go down, so Virtue's going to have to shoot all the way back to site. I'm really enjoying these new rotates that they're throwing over towards kids, you know, over towards Cafe and whatnot. I enjoy teams playing that. And, oh, the Selma, it's mute charged. Well, that's okay. Renault should still have some EMPs. There we go. We get tossed out. IQ not being there means they're not going to be a little, you know, aware of where those Wamais are. There's a bulletproof watching them as well, and Impact Trick will stop that Selma. But more will fly out, and I don't think there's enough impacts to be able to deal with this. No, there's not.
He tried to catch you, but I think just out of range. And secretly, again, the man of the hour steps up and finds a second. But now once they've got through a wall, guess what? There's another wall made of iron sat right behind it, or steel. I'm not quite sure what those deployable shields are made of. Won't lie to you. Either way, there's something else for them to get through. There are more obstacles being set up by G2. They are down to this 3 versus 4, but we've been here before. And last time round, oh my God, really? Get the Selma eaten up, but spot Citizen through the wall. Okay, now it's a 4 versus 2, because last time G2 brought it back from that 4 versus 3 to a 3 versus 2 with a quick flurry of kills in the mid-round. Chaos are so close here. They've got 30 seconds to go, but Pengu steps up, secretly gets a quad kill. Can he connect the ace onto Pengu here and literally drag his team kicking and screaming over the finish line? It comes down to 1v1. What a flick coming out. Pengu's in a great spot with the triple kill himself. He is the clutch god. Can he swing around and collect it? Goes for the spray. Misses. They miss each other, but Pengu finds it. The quad kill to deny secretly big time. And with both players picking themselves up a 4K, Pengu, I think, still thought someone was left alive, but realizes he is the only man left on the field along with the diffuser, and G2 will drag round 3 kicking and screaming back their way despite all the hard efforts of secretly. This is one of those moments you turn to your team and go, guys, what else could I do there, really? What else could I do to get us over the finishing line?
I feel like that's foreboding a lot of Chaos's rest of their season, let's be frank here, because a round like that where you should have won, quite frankly, how did Pengu flick to the Ash, who had a better angle on him? He also was leaning the wrong way, so part of his scope was covering the Ash to begin with. So to lose that gunfight to me, when that is your entire job, is to hold the rotate, maybe you could have held it further back, but of course you're worried about the rotate between sides, you're worried about getting flanked from waiting. I get it. But you lose an integral gunfight, and then you can't shoot back as the planter. I mean, well done to Pengu. Quad kill that round. So he absolutely deserves it. But that's something that if you're Chaos and you desperately need at least 1 or 2 attacking rounds before you go onto your defense, that you're just going to look back on and say, that's one of the reasons that we probably are sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard, is that we can't capitalize on rounds like that, on situations like that.
The horrible thing, Jess, I remember talking about this last season as well. They ended last season with 5 wins and 4 losses. 5 draws and 4 losses, sorry.
Yeah.
Those draws, let's not forget, are literally a 1-round difference from them being sat near the top of the table on 18 points and looking like an absolutely devilish team. They would have been sat in 3rd in the whole competition, I think, if they got 18 points. Sorry, 15 points. But alas, they didn't. They found themselves in a spot where they had 5 because of all the draws. Chaos have always been that team that is just near the edge. And that round for me was the story of their journey, where they look excellent at points. They can really blitz their way through and look like everything's coming out right, albeit pretty close to the clock. And then something goes wrong at the dying second that takes the game away from them. And that has been their curse. 1 win last season could have meant this wasn't an auto-relegation game. Yeah. And that is probably the most heartbreaking piece of it all.
I mean, how sad as well, because there's probably a lot of people questioning, you know, there's so many games. Oh, good shot,
next
good spray
one.
down. G2, calm down. They're already dead. Come on, you don't have to pump them into the ground anymore. And that start round aggression that they've shown here, top floor, is just so devastating. Next one gone again, you said. But the biggest loss to me is the Thatcher here. He probably had breaching charges as well. They still do have the sledge. But this is such a huge hit on a site that takes a lot of utility, a lot of time, and a lot of awareness. Thank God they've still at least got the ace to play with here. And to cap off my point, Des, a lot of people don't realize they've still got 2 play days. I get that. But guess what? They've got no more opportunities to get points to bring themselves back up to where Tempra is. That's why we're saying they're going to get auto-relegated. If they do not win this game and Tempra, you know, magically somehow don't win theirs, then maybe there's a chance, but they must win this. They must get 3 points.
Oh no, there is no chance. This is it. This is literally do or die. There is no other alternative scenario. If they lose this game, they are done. They simply cannot catch up to anyone. They're done.
Wow.
Oh, I think that's kind of a lie. They could catch Na'Vi, I think. Unless that didn't update. Either way, things are grim. I'm pretty sure no, they're done here. They're done. Because they got their points early. Na'Vi got their points, so did Tempra.
Yep.
Yeah, not pretty times. They have to win. Stop trying to confuse me, Jess. I don't appreciate it.
Oh, no. Round number 4, looking ever so grim here for Chaos. Biggest thing I can think of here for Chaos is that they recollect themselves and they get this wall. They stay true to their step-by-step, even though they've lost a lot of their team members already, really key ones that would have gone for those verticals. There's an ADS there.
You should know.
Does he not have flashes? He must be out. Okay, there we go. That'll go. Oh, there's another ADS.
What are you doing?
Des, mate.
All you had to do was line up the exact angle and throwing the grenade over, and you know it was safe. You didn't hear it get eaten. You heard the flashbang go off, but 2 frag grenades eaten by an ADS in such a crucial position. That wall had to get open. They still find 2 kills. They're doing a BDS chest. They don't care about walls being open. They'll just walk in and frag some fools. They find 2. It brings us down to a 2 versus 2. But guess what? It's Chaos. So what does that mean? It means the clock's slow. There's 15 seconds remaining. They're going to have to go do or die here, rush their way in, and find these kills. And you can already see Virtue waiting with a shotgun, waiting down by Dragon Door for secretly to come bursting in. Pengu's taking another fight, gets the spray down, and there's the shotgun I was talking around. It's so painful. It's so obvious what these errors are with 2 frag grenades, Jess. 2.
Look, wherever he used his flashes, fine. Whatever, whether there were entries above, whatever was going on, that's okay. But to make the grave mistake of throwing I'm not going to say it was a sloppy smoke over the top, but it absolutely wasn't engaged in a way that made sure it could spot both left-hand side of throne, right-hand side of throne, and if it was elevated on the pillar of throne. And I know it seems like such a complex way to look at it, but oftentimes you do have to think that way. You do have to remember there's multiple places that the ADS can be, and one tiny millimeter of a misplaced smoke meant that grenade couldn't go over. No wall could open up. But good on Chaos for doing a BDS, like you said. They tried to frag their way in. They did a pretty good damn job of it. So it's a shame. No attacking rounds in the hands of Chaos. No rounds whatsoever in their hands thus far. And G2 get to go back to lab again, where they did a pretty damn good job last time. So this is looking pretty good for G2 on the first half.
That last round came down to a very cheeky opening kill from Kanto being hyper-aggressive onto next one, and also with renewals going down at the same time. Worth mentioning in that last round, as much as we put the focus on those frags, that would have not have been a thing if they'd managed to deal with the fact that Kanto was on the roam. If they killed him off and they hadn't managed to catch renewals out early, I think renewals Kanto caught onto next one, so I'm not quite sure who got renewals. But the fact that he died early, if those Thatchers were still alive, that would have been that wall disabled. The ADSs wouldn't have been able to get through. They would have then been able to get that wall open in pretty much good time. Just really unfortunate for them that it came back to sting them that aggressively. However, now we've got to make do with it. As I say, or as you say, 4-0 to G2 at this point. A couple of close rounds, a lot of very cheeky opening kills coming out of G2, but you've got to be able to deal with these things. In this round, there is no mute, there is no Mozzie. This is the best chance I think Chaos are going to get because they can use the information they can collect to decide how they act.
Cafe yet again. Chaos. Is it a repeat of a mistake, or have they learnt their lesson and they know exactly how to push this? Because last time it didn't work out too well for them. A little bit of bullet holes over into the yellow walkway, and that's what you can see next one. He was pre-firing, a little bit of PTSD, still pre-firing, and he still expects someone to pop out there. Next one's had a pretty horrific entry here on this particular map, so it's been really difficult for him, so I can understand why he is stalling out outside of Cafe. He doesn't want to throw his life away again. And this extended armory hold as well here from G2 might work really well, but Vito does what Vito does best, and that's get some frags. Remember stage 1 on the IQ? He absolutely demolished a lot of teams.
There's one down, it's a number down. Is it going to be enough? Renewals finds a second before a trade comes back from Kanto, putting us into a 4 versus 3. And Clutch God secretly, he's no longer on the board. Unfortunate, I guess. It's also the Selma's down and out, although not the end of the world, arguably, for this site. You can still make plays where you need to. But I think you'd still rather have those gadgets on site if you had the choice coming in. 4 drones left alive for the side of Chaos as well. 80 seconds left to play, so still some time to dance around here. Preservation of that information is going to be critical. I mentioned without the Mute and the Mozzie, they should be doing a lot of work for them in this round.
Oh no, they use so much utility on him. Finally, they find him. Finally, they have a man advantage, a very crucial man advantage. Next one, he heard me. He said, I can frag, Jess. Let me show you. And now it's up to Clutch God Pengu. Surely they get this 4v1. There's no way that this goes into the hands of the defenders, and it doesn't. And as a result, now Chaos will finally get their first round. Possibly going to have a little bit of a rehost here, but he hears someone shooting 20. Yeah, that's G2, Renaults.
That's not the game bug, mate. That's just someone absolutely slapping you 24/7, oddly enough. That is how much of this game has gone so far. And yes, I think that last round gives them a little bit of a reprieve here, where they can have the pause, they can have a chat, and get their heads back in the game, because there's been quite a few issues of miscommunication, miscoordination coming between them. It hasn't been pretty. It's been what we've seen from Chaos time and time again. It's, again, you almost have all the pieces for the jigsaw, but you don't know what the finished picture looks like well enough to be able to put the whole thing together. And that's a real shame.
I think it's also a real shame is that you can look back on the previous matchup of Theme Park, and you can look at Tempera and you go, well, actually on attack, they looked really coordinated. There was a lot of trades coming in, you know, attacks really hard on Theme Park, but Tempera still managed to get, you know, those offsides of the team and managed to put those rounds together. Whereas Chaos, they were really scrambling in those first few rounds, finally get a round in their hands. And it came out of the fact that, I'll be frank, there was a lot of solo roaming and flanking coming out from G2, so they were providing a lot of those free kills, and there was a really good pinch coming out from Chaos. So good to see that they were playing coordinated, but I think the timer by the time they did catch that player off in waiting room was less than the halfway mark. So if you're only catching roamers then, and let's say the rest of the team was still alive, that doesn't bode well for your time management, really.
I think pretty much every single round they've lost so far, you can put down to drone work being the issue for them. The first round came down to a couple roaming in drug that they didn't find out early on. Second round came down to Citizen with that very cheeky bullet hole leading into Cafe that caught one out as they came charging in. The third round, I'm almost forgetting what that one came down to. Now that was more secretly just completely popping the hell off, but Pengu striking back big towards the end. There's just been a lot of instances again in round number 4 with Kanto being at Cash Door where they didn't drone that out. And that one should have been one of the easiest drones in the world as well. If you're sending 2 members inside a Cash, or at least towards that balcony, there's got to be a camera inside a Cash to spot out what's going on. But they just simply didn't have the, I suppose, the preparation to be aware that was a thing. Unfortunate for them, but drone work is the big thing I need to keep an eye on these next few rounds.
Yeah, exactly, especially now that Chaos, and I know we're harping this in, but there are new viewers that influx and go, and they come and go as this game goes on. We really want to harp this on. This is do or die here for Chaos. I know you've put it even more sickeningly than I've managed to put it here for Chaos. I'm not going to be that brutal, of course. I know my hot takes can sometimes be spicy, but I'm not going to throw it here today because this is actually really sad. I mean, I've known Chaos being part of Pro League for however long. We've known them here as part
Since
of
season 7.
If they get auto-relegated, it's honestly a huge loss. We recently lost Sisu as well, a huge influential organization that's been part of organization, you know, team and group that's been part of Pro League and everything that we've known Professional Siege to really be. So to also lose Chaos would be a huge hit. But I think even with the roster changes, that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles.
It is, and this is one big cookie to crumble as well. Again, such history behind this organization, and a good number of the players here until recently were the same solid roster for pretty much the longest time. Let's not forget about that. They have been a very together roster is the wrong word to use, but a very historied roster is the best way I can describe it. Again, the issue that I had back coming into this, very loyal is a good way of looking at it too, and a loyal organization behind them too. Chaos, formerly known as Digital Chaos, of course, back when we saw them all the way back in Pro League Season 7, just to give you that total throwback of nostalgia. How times change indeed. Let's get into it then again once more, now that we are back from the rehost. Chaos, in case you missed it just before, did manage to take their first attacking round here on Theme Park. And my general assumption is we're going to see teams take one attacking round on Theme Park, and the defenses are just going to be too hard to break through. And I think a lot of people hear people say things like, oh, well, it's a defender-sided map. Like, yeah, of course, but what does that actually mean? The reason why this map can be so difficult to attack is if you're looking at these top floor sites especially, you're looking out towards Cache and out towards Cafe. Generally single tight doorways that you can really put your focus on to get through, or a lot of angles that you can be challenged on once you step through. It's a really hard map to actually get inside of, and when you're defending on the downstairs, well, deny maintenance, you're pretty much guaranteed to win the round because the only the angles of attack are through very thin doorways. It is a ludicrously difficult map to attack, and a lot of teams struggle with it, especially when you also throw in the size of it.
It is a big map. It does remind me of Cafe in that kind of rectangular way, the way that some of these rooms are formatted as well. It did give me a Cafe-esque vibe. But Kedriketi back on the Jaeger, hoping he'd do a little bit more impact over towards Cache. He's looking for that money shot, I think, and he got one last time through the Cache door. And this time he'll lurk a little bit, whether or not he collects a couple of drones and then sort of shifts back, or whether he's trying his luck here, trying to get a couple of those picks. This is going to be tilting Chaos as well. That round where they were able to take those really aggressive picks early on would have absolutely been a tilter here for Chaos, because they know exactly what's on the line here.
I like how they're at least being slightly more cautious. Admittedly, when pretty much all of you are playing outside a cafe, then yeah, you are pretty much guaranteed to be safe. Let's keep a close eye on how many of those drones slowly bleed away. We're down 3 inside the first 60 seconds, so it's not the end of the world. But it's about getting control of Cafe. I mentioned how tough it was. I wouldn't be surprised if Pengu's got a couple of mute jammers scattered around him as well. In fact, he's still got one in the back pocket and is looking to contest onto this angle constantly. He's spending the whole round concussed, it feels like, and rather than having a shotgun out in hand, it's the SMG ready in case there is a slightly longer range fight that needs to take place. Crying almost getting taken down, but Kanto eventually will be traded out. There's one on the ground, playing like a little rat in the grass. But either way, down he goes, and there should be an easy finish off for Pengu. Doesn't want to challenge too aggressively, as there are still players hanging on the outside, and there's virtue challenges. Out comes one more. Pengu tries to swing out for the trade, but secretly is ready and waiting, and next one being Zofia can get himself back up. That puts it all down to Citizen, so a little bit of a over-aggressive streak coming out of G2 here, but potentially something to be done by the old God Fragger and Citizen himself. He's still going to bring down 2 more, and look at that cheeky angle out of next one, perfectly to the pixel. Brings down Citizen. Chaos finding their second attacking round, and that should give them a little bit of breathing room going into the second half.
I said they needed 1 or 2 rounds there on the attack. They narrowly managed to grab that, pretty much all from outside Cafe, mind you. So G2 really brought the fight to them, really threw their bodies at them. We said the other round that Chaos had won, that's exactly what G2 had done as well, throwing bodies at them on the flank or the roam, and Chaos really read into that. They had adapted to that quite well. Now we're on the defense. They're going to start upstairs. None of this armory or throwing business. They want to start straight upstairs. And I'm just looking at the lineup here, Des. I'm getting a little bit of a vibe that we're going to see the Wamai shield or smoke shield, whether they've got one or not, over towards Cafe. I expect to see a pretty similar hold to G2, just because that oftentimes is the best way to be able to hold off on the Cafe attack. And then you look over to the G2 side of things, they're bringing the Kali. I don't expect with the Kali that you push Cafe, because you don't need that particular operator. I expect them to push over towards initiation, and if they don't, I would be a bit surprised given drone placements at current.
You do have more walls to go through when you come from initiation side, and although it's a bit slower, it does tend to be a little bit safer. Once you're inside of control, you can have your flank drone watching back up towards Dragon to make sure no one's going to try and flank you, push it through control, take control of initiation, open up the bunk wall, and then you're in a wonderful spot to try and look for a plan. I'm going to keep a very close eye on the denial coming out of renewals here, though. You know that there's a Kali on side. They'll find that out very soon, I'm sure, that you can't keep these things electrified forever. Alternatively, you can always send Uno off on the downstairs and start blowing up these gadgets from below, given lots of the flooring upstairs is indeed soft. That's the kind of playstyle that we see coming out in APAC. Just keep an eye out for that too.
You say keep an eye out for that. I'm keeping an eye out on this vertical angle. Dirty if I've ever seen it, because for the most part, you're not going to expect someone holding that angle down below as you enter through Gong. I think Uno was having a little bit of a tester as to whether or not he can enter below. I actually expect that I don't expect, I should say, them to use that breaching charge below. I expect them to just use the Kali for every wall. Why bother when you can just lance everything? You've got quite a few lances to work with, but it's an extended hold here from Chaos. What I'm interested in is that when they pioneered the defense here on Theme Park, it relied a lot on shields. I'm not seeing a lot of that here. No Goyo either.
We all know what shields can do for a defensive side, how much time you can burn down and burn through by having them stacked up around the map in different key bottlenecks. Not only the fact there's a shield there, you got to deal with utility, but also the fire that it leaves behind afterwards. Making sure now they're burning out as many ADSs and magnets as they can. Vito's still going to catch out onto Citizen to begin with, and that's one of the hard breaches down. Not the end of the world, as you still have the ace for now, and that was on the entry into control as well. Ew, gross.
That's a really important pick as well, because I think that Habana was that secondary hard breach that they needed for certain angles. Like, let's make the assumption they also go over, open up and vault, but they're very lucky here because the extended hold is what's being played here from Chaos. So for the most part, they can just rely on the Selmas now. They can rely on the Lances. So if Pengu or Virtue goes down, then I think that things start to get a little bit critical.
They just burn a frag. I think they put a frag through that a second ago. There's still at least one left. There we go. Out it comes. Better. I was going to say, with that being there, they can deny this wall for free, and obviously no one can try and push over this control area, otherwise you get yourself blown to pieces, basically. Great challenge coming out of Pengu there as he idealizes, or at least realizes what's going on with the impacts, brings down Vito, and that should get this wall open. They will have one Selma remaining, I think. That should put them in a spot to be able to use that onto the wall that leads into Bunk, because that's the critical one that they need open. And in fact, G2 have been kind enough, sorry, not G2, Chaos have been kind enough to put a rotation through into the site for them. How about that?
Yeah, that's what I said. When Citizen went down, I said to myself, it's okay because they've done this extended hold, so for the most part, they won't need that extra hard breach. Uno's going to solo challenge onto Renaults. I'm hoping Kato rotates over. Yes, he does. This is important because you need a pinch push onto Vault. Renaults is the player that you must displace now with 25 seconds left. There's almost no time. They've barely got control of initiation. They're just going to have to burst on through.
They don't know about the player inside of Vault either. Uno could do so much damage here. Well, not Duno, sorry, but the player that was crouched down inside it was Renewals. That's the one. He strikes up, and clearly they weren't even aware, and they're not even respecting the fact that he's here. He brings down 3 all by himself, and that's another round for Chaos. What a world.
You said this map was defender-sided, so...
I did.
It's only fair that Chaos gets their fair share of the defensive-sidedness as well. And they're going to put that on show for us here. I mean, I looked over it, and the sample size is 1. So berate me if you will, Des, but the sample size of 1 of Theme Park throughout all of Stage 2, it's a 73% defensive-sidedness. That is huge. That is, I cannot identify a map that even gets close to that. I think the only map that gets close is maybe Clubhouse or Oregon. Yeah, of which have 60% each apiece. So there you go. This is a very, very defender-sided map. I will give it to Des, but what I will give to Chaos as well is that they might even the scoreline here, and if they keep this run on defense going, I mean, things could look pretty nice here.
The implications of this for G2 is also one to think about as well. Given how this plays out, they might not end up finishing in second place. If they could get themselves challenged out by Virtus Pro, if they lose here and Virtus Pro go on to win a couple of their games, they could end up snatching that spot away from G2, I think. I'm not 100% sure exactly how it plays out because of all the tiebreaker rules that we have, but second place isn't guaranteed. And let's not forget, these teams care a hell of a lot about those potential points going towards something like the 6 Invitational.
Yes. Yeah, we can't underestimate how much these teams are thinking about 6 Invitational as well, because you can't just get there through, you know, winning a major. You have to be able to qualify for the major, and then in order to qualify for the major, then you need the points from the major to go towards SI, and there's all these points now and all these numbers, and it gets so much more complex than it once used to be. So teams now can't just rely on just getting that one major. They need points.
You know what, Jess, I've just realised, though, it doesn't matter because 1st to 5th place all get the same number of points for SI.
Oh, well then it's a little bit more simpler than I initially
anticipated. Actually, no, it's a lie. So 225 is the base that you get, and then there seems to be a variable amount for the top 4 that we don't yet have calculated.
Okay. I was going to say, it seems strange that it wouldn't matter where you place, but we'll see. We'll get numbers in the near future. I'm sure Statman Hat will be able to throw us a little bit of a lead there as to how that works.
Furiously typing on his keyboard right now, calculating it all out.
I hope so. Speaking of furiously typing on your keyboard, look at Kanto. He's just quick peeking over and over and over again. Please peek me.
Okay, that was a 3.5 out of 10.
What?
I don't know. Furiously
you know
typing
how-
and peeking was a little bit of a
Yeah,
stretch.
quick peeking is a smashing QE.
Yeah,
I mean,
not
I know
really
you barely
typing,
play
though.
Siege, but you know.
Wow. Is your KD better than mine or not?
Yeah. I'm at
What's your KD?
1.45.
Okay, fair enough. You're pretty good. Fair play, Jess.
Thank you.
I think mine went down to 1.06 yesterday. I was heartbroken. I lost my 1.07.
You can't be a caster anymore. That's how it is.
No, I'm just going to mute now. You carry on talking. Bye, guys. Really been fun casting with you all, but now I've been exposed. I'm out.
Oh no. Well, G2's had a little bit more luck here. Citizen stays alive and there's more hard breach in hand. But as we spoke about before, that extra hard breach actually doesn't really mean anything. It's about the gun in Citizen's hand here, I think, and whether or not he has flashes, because for the most part, they've been really unsuccessful at getting Vito out of this key position here. He was able to take out one before. Renouts was able to take out another. It seemed like the round was won on this site, or rather on this room, and the site wasn't even here. But now the site is here. So Chaos need to be a little bit more heavy.
Sorry,
back,
you have to hire a new captain to speak here. I'm not allowed to.
Please
No,
come
I'm
back.
absolutely kidding. Don't worry, I'm here for you. I got you.
Thank
In
you.
the same way that it's swearing up that Chaos might have this round. That was a 6 out of 10. 45 seconds remaining. It's a 5 versus 5. And Citizen's going to find the opening kill into the next one. What a surprise there. Kanto steps up and brings down Crying. That's the 2 fraggers done and dusted. And I sit there and say that it looks like Chaos are guaranteed to have it. G2 now get a flawless round. What? What is this game sometimes? Honestly, I swear to God.
I thought he shot his teammate in the head there. Tanked it up. Oh, by the way, it is dog walk o'clock. So if you hear the dogs going on in the background, it's because they're going for their beautiful morning walk. Every morning we say this, you know. If you hear them in the background, that's all it is about.
You should bark back at them and see what they do.
The last time you made Jess is a dog joke, it did not go down too well. So I'm going to evade this one.
It did. Maybe not to some crowds, but to others, wonderfully. Don't worry. Either way, 5 versus 3. 5-3 to G2. Not a 5 versus 3. It was a 5 versus 5 with 40 seconds left. And then they completely dust up and turn it into a 5 versus 0. A flawless round for G2. And again, one of those instances where we still had Chaos holding all the right angles. It reminded me so much of watching teams like BDS play again. I'll always refer back to them because they are a wonderful example of this. It doesn't matter how good your setups are sometimes or how perfectly you play around. If you don't click on heads and the other team does, you are going to lose. And that can be the beauty of Siege. Sometimes you outplay a team with utility. Sometimes they're just the better fraggers in that round.
Well, you've been very critical of drone economy of G2 over multiple games throughout stage 1 and stage 2. For the most part, they had one of the drones that zoomed on in to check out the setup of Top Dragon, and the rest have been kept rather safe. So for now, the drone economy looks good. But when you're going into a site like this that's heavily fortified, you've got a Kaid in play, and instead of bringing the Kali now, Pegu's decided that Thatcher is the play. I heavily agree with this choice. I heavily agree that I don't think Kali has really been as necessary, but it has helped with shields and whatnot. But with this side, I'm excited to see that he has chosen the Thatcher, a better option for this.
Hasn't really been used to a huge effect across the map. Admittedly, not too much to worry about, I guess, disabling for the most part. We haven't seen massive setups in terms of Mutant Mozzie. We haven't really seen too much in the way of the Evil Eyes. Are, of course, seeing it being brought along now. So I think for their side, it's one thing to worry about the Electro Claws, to worry about the Evil Eyes, to worry about all the rest of it. But the other thing I'm looking at is the Roam Duo once again coming out of Chaos. You've got Crying on the Vigil and next one playing out on that Jaeger. Between the two of them, we've criticized them all season long and said the guys play very separate. They don't play as a duo, but here they are within line of sight each other. They can support each other and hopefully play for these refrags if something goes wrong. And I like seeing them play as a unit again.
All right, a little bit of a roam here, and as you said, hopefully it's a duo roam with crossfires. Beautiful shot onto the head of Cantor Ricchetti. He himself, who often mains Jaeger, will get a taste of his own medicine, but Crying goes down. No trade possible just yet. I think next one wants to get it, but he might be in a really bad position here. Citizen does get lit up, and next one's in a really precarious position now, being pinched from below and above. He's wasted almost half the round, though, so this has been pretty good.
Yeah, Time is of the essence, children. Let's see if we can pick this one up. And Chaos are the ones who were always starved of time earlier on. Renewals finds one to Citizen, hopefully to slow down the side of G2, who have only 2 drones left. I am watching that drone economy. Don't you worry. 3 versus 3. 70 seconds to go, and a good amount of time here to make things happen. But the thing is, this is only the top floor. We are, of course, attacking on the downstairs site. So once more, as we saw on the last map of Cafe, we've got to see them pick up the pace here. When you've got the top floor control, that is great, but you then don't have an awful lot left to actually look at the site itself. And given some of these walls are still electrified, they're going to have to make sure they can get through in good time.
Is there another Kaid trick to come in? Is there an impact trick? Is there C4? Is there something? No, C4 rains out, and I don't think that destroyed the summer. It might have, but it doesn't matter because Virtue's behind it, and the big clutch god of Chaos goes down. That's secretly, he's had a wonderful stage 2, but he might be at his wit's end here. He might not be able to carry this out as Vito and Renaults are all alone here. 3 versus 2, wall open in barrels, everything to play for here for G2, and quite easy access.
Just got to wait here. The Elder goes brewer, but not anymore. It's jammed. It's made the horrible sound that Jess makes, and Pengu charges in. Uno with another, and G2 take the round. Wow, this is heating up. I know what I said about it being defender-sided, but G2 are making this look pretty good on the attacking side. A flawless round and a good closing execute.
It was almost as if G2 just needed to sniff out Chaos's plan on defense. Are they going to play aggressive with us the way we played with them? Are they going to have a lot of shields like they used to back in Pro League? Are they going to have a particular meta setup that we're going to have to read into? And then after losing quite definitively the first round of their attack, it was almost like they read all of the books that were set for this particular semester and in an instant, and they knew exactly how to adapt to it. And each round thus far since then has shown me that they know exactly how to deal with it. They're not losing players early on. They're making sure that their utility counts towards something. And even if it is later on in the round and they're getting caught off by the roamer, at least they're still making it work.
You know the beautiful irony in how this game is currently stacking up given G2 are at match point? If Chaos can go to win 3 rounds back-to-back now, they bring themselves up to a draw. That puts them on 13 points. They are still in a spot where those ahead of them are set on 19 points, and I'm pretty sure given head-to-heads and how they're shaped up, Chaos would still be relegated. However, what a Chaos way to go out of EUL in drawing. It's almost biblical. It's a story that tells itself, some say.
Yeah, it is a shame. I mean, you pointed it out really rightfully before, is that Chaos have had so many draws, and that's 1 round away from a win. That, for me, if I was a player, I'd be so triggered that each and every time I've been 1 round away from a win. Whether or not you're obviously on the one that's on the 6-5 or you're 5-6. I mean, yeah, then you're just pushing yourself to get that point, but it doesn't matter. You're so close, yet so far. And that's how Chaos's entire season here, stage 1 and stage 2, has felt for me. It's a shame because they've got some really, really good players on here, and especially with the roster changes as well. So, that's it. Is it all over here? What about a draw point, Des? Can a draw point save them?
I don't think, again, you have to consider in all the different rules that come into play here, because there's rules in the rulebook which you can indeed get on the Facebook website, I believe. You have your head-to-head record to consider first, then how many major points you've got. So a team that made it to major last season, which is Rogue, they would be ahead of all the other teams that they are drawn with because they got the most major points in the whole stage or the whole season overall. You then go down to all kinds of analogies of like matches won, maps won, rounds won, then a tiebreaker match at the end. Either way, Chaos don't look favourable in any of those situations given the number of losses they have, draws they've had. I think if they draw here, they are still done and dusted. But hey, let's pray there is some weird situation in how strange parallel universes on those stat sheets where it's like a 0.001% chance they can make it. At least with a starting kill onto Uno, it gives them a small glimmer of hope. And I say that,
Pengu,
steps out and finds another, but it's traded back.
He did a bit of a Hail Mary run. You could see that he wanted Virtue to enter with him because he was aware that someone was holding that Elder line of sight onto him. And I mean, if you're talking about head-to-heads here, I just went back. The last time G2 and Chaos played was on Cafe, and they 7-1'd them. So if it's head-to-head, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. You have just watched Chaos fall into the auto-relegation spot before our very eyes.
Let's set the match here. Now it's like a victory lap. When you like lose in like a PE at high school, you're given the victory lap or the kind of consolation lap to feel good about yourself. That's what Chaos are doing now. They're fighting for that pride. They're showing that there's still some capability on the side here. And again, if it is a draw, there's still something there for them. Let's see what happens with G2 now as we're starting to look towards this push on the top floor. Virtue snakes his way in through the smoke. hasn't brought down just yet, but has been chipped down to about half HP. Kanto down to about a quarter. Citizen the only one left on full HP, and he brings down someone on the other side. It's Crying, the one might move from the board. So a 3 versus 3. We've already seen what G2 can do. When we hit that 40-second mark, they've gone from a 5v5 to a 5v0 in about 5 seconds. Let's see if they can do it here. They know that one player is downstairs below the hatch. It's a question of can they get there to challenge him in time before he manages to rotate away. And equally, what can Citizen do pushing through a very narrow doorway here?
Does he know someone is close left? He seems to be peeking over towards raiding. That's a free kill for Kanto if I've ever seen one. They probably cap this off here, Des. Tell me this is all over Red Rover. Chaos are going to be licking their wounds. This is a horrific match to be casting. It's all up to Secretly. Oh no!
Oh, and he gets the trade. He goes down. It's done. Chaos, a team that we have seen in Pro League since Season 7, will meet their demise here at the hands of G2 on Theme Park, a map that, again, they were one of the first to pioneer it, but just could not do the goods here against G2 today. Our first team is confirmed for relegation. It is going to be Chaos. Thank you for all the wonderful games you have brought us, boys, but we will be welcoming a new team come the end of this season.
A very happy game for G2 and an extraordinarily sad game for Chaos. That paints the end of their run here in EUL. Even though they've got 2 more games to go, you're probably sitting there a little bit confused. I'm sure there's more explanation to it. We'll get to it eventually, but we appreciate you guys being here and we appreciate Chaos. Shout out to you guys. We'll throw it over to the analysts.
Thank you so much, guys. Yes, how unfortunate is it that we get to